So will the game at Villa Park be Manchester United's last game with Ten Hag in charge? Some are suggesting that it will be. However, of course, yesterday, Harry Maguire with that late injury time equaliser gave him a point, another point in Europe, a game in which, of course, they were 2-0 up, 3-2 down, Bruno off, and Harry Maguire, though, makes it 3-3. Now, this is what Sir Jim Ratcliffe has had to say about Ten Hag's future. He said, I don't want to answer that question. I like Erik. I think he's a very good coach, but at the end of the day, it's not my call. It's the management team that's running Manchester United that have to decide how we best run the team in many different respects. So they need to take stock and make some sensible decisions. Our objective is very clear. We want to take Manchester United back to where it should be, and it's not there yet. Obviously, that's very clear. Frank and Kieran are still with us. Just come back from Portugal. Mark Ogden joins us now. Mark, I don't really know what that means. He's the boss, and he could sack. Surely he could sack Ten Hag if he wanted to.
He's being a little disingenuous there. I think what it is, I think he's attending the game on Sunday. He's got to Villa Park, so I guess he knows that every time there's a bad moment or a goal conceded, that the camera will pan to him in the crowd, and it'll be a case of what is he going to do. So maybe he's trying to kind of pass away the responsibility. But you're right. I mean, he did appoint a new CEO, a new director of football. So, technically they are the people that will decide the future of Erik Ten Hag. But reality is, it'll be Jim Ratcliffe, because Jim Ratcliffe is on a three-man board with Joe Glazer and Dave Brailsford. So there's no way the CEO or the director of football are going to make a decision on the manager without the minority owner, who seems to be the big boss now, not having a say. So, of course, he'll have a say in it. He had a say in the summer when they decided to keep him after the FA Cup win, which every game goes by looks like a bad decision.
So what the heck is going to happen this weekend? If they win against Villa Park, is that another Band-Aid and he gets a pass? If they lose against Villa Park, do they want them to lose because then it's an easy exit for him? What do you think the plan of action is?
I think the reality, Dan, is that they desperately don't want them to lose. They desperately want him to get out of it because, listen, I think we all know that he's not the man for Man United. He doesn't seem to be the guy that's got the plan. But financially, United are in a bit of a real position right now. They don't want to make a change because it'll cost £8 or £9 million to compensate Ten Hag. It'll cost money to hire a new manager. A new manager will come in and will definitely want new players in the window because the players they've signed recently haven't really stacked up. So the cost of changing the manager is a problem. Because United reported losses last month.
Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense, Mark, because they're just going to keep drifting. They're going to just keep drifting under Ten Hag. And surely if they can just, £9 million, write that off, here we go, get a new manager in, we start from 100%. Scratch. Because otherwise we're going to have this conversation, we're in a vicious circle.
100%, but money has become a massive, it's always been a big issue in football, but previously it was about clubs spending money without worrying about the consequences. Now, clubs are paranoid about the consequences. They're paranoid about possible points deductions, possible fines. But you're right, if United don't make the change soon, it's not working, then they're going to miss out on the Champions League. They're already, 13th place. So they're miles off Champions League qualification. So the tipping point comes when United feel that Ten Hag can't get them back in the running for the Champions League. And I think we're getting to that point now. If they lose at Villa at the weekend, it's going to be extremely hard to keep him. If they draw, I think he'll limp on.
Wow.
Listen, I don't think that's right, but I think that's what will happen because they're trying to find every reason possible to stick with him for as long as possible to avoid having to risk, breaching PSR rules and being hit by a fine or a points deduction, which, is that the right way to look at it? Maybe not, but that is how a lot of clubs are looking at it these days, the financial implications of making changes and spending money.
What a mess, Kieran, eh?
Yeah, do you know what? It's funny, Dan, because I haven't been on for 4 or 5 months, and I think the last episode I did, we was having this same conversation just before the FA Cup final. So it feels a bit like deja vu, to be honest, which is quite awkward. But it's becoming the new norm for United, which is a bit worrying. I did think it was a bit crazy that they kept him after the FA Cup final, and it just kind of seems like they're kicking the can down the road a little bit, and it's just creating a big divide in the fan base, in the dressing room, it seems as well. And it's just really hard to get out of these slumps. It's gone on for that long now that it's just become pretty much a big stain in the club. I do think that the Maguire goal just has delayed his exit, and I think a win at Villa Park delays his exit also. I look at the fixture list up until early December. I had a look earlier, and I would have looked at that and thought, that United really should win every game bar one. I think they've got Chelsea, and that's the only real tricky fixture. But the United that I look at now, I just don't know how they get through those. Every fixture just looks, as I look at the fixture, it just looks tricky. Because of the way that United, the state that United are in right now. So I think it's a ticking time bomb.
A ticking time bomb, says Kieran Gibbs. And when you take a look at the Premier League table, you can see why. Obviously, Manchester United sitting in the bottom half. As Mark said, their objective at the start of the season would to be finishing top 4. However, they are nowhere near that at the moment. Adrift of their city rivals, adrift of Arsenal as well. And they go on and take an Aston Villa side, who of course have been the complete opposite. They are currently sitting 5th in the table, 2 points off Liverpool at the top. If we take a look at the odds, shall we, as how this is going to go. Aston Villa 6-5, draws 27-10. Manchester United to win are at 2-1. So given everything that's been said by our pundits leading into the predictions, surely no one can believe that Manchester United will go to Villa Park and get a victory. However, oh my God! Look, Kieran, I'd give a pass to Kieran. He doesn't know what day it is. He's 4 or 5 months ago. Oggy, what's wrong with you?
Because I know how this Man United team under Erik ten Hag works. They just find,
come on.
Well, listen.
Exactly,
they beat Man
Mark,
City in the FA.
exactly.
They beat Man City in the FA Cup final. Who thought that happened?
Yes.
They were hungover.
Yes.
Well, this is the problem with this Man United team. There's a lot of talent there, but they pick and choose when they play, and they choose not to play more often than not. And Erik ten Hag, for me, is not a good enough manager for Man United, but every now and again, when he's really up against it, they get a result. And it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if they won 2-1. Equally, I wouldn't be surprised if they lost 4-0, because it could go either way. I've seen the lack of pace in midfield, the lack of pace at the back, the lack of belief up front, but I've been watching Man United a long time, and this is what happened to this Man United team. How many times last season did they get hammered and then get a ridiculous result a couple of weeks later? It's what Man United do under Erik ten Hag, and it continues this, like Kieran said, about this ticking time bomb. It's not really ticking very much, is it?
Oggy's just loving life with Ten Hag, isn't he?
What do you think?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Oggy's loving it.
It's
He's like,
Friday night.
Just keep it going.
There's no way we're having Oggy on if United are doing well. We can have a life.
Oggy's like, this is too easy. Keep him all, I see.
Right, here we go. Here comes Kieran's explanation. Why have you gone for 2-1, Kieran?
Honestly, it's exactly the same as Mark's. Exactly the same. Don't get me wrong. I think Villa are a better side. I think both on paper and on form. I think they're superior physically, and I think I genuinely think that they have better footballers than Man United at the moment. I have a feeling that Villa will start on fire, especially given the result during the week. I think it was, you have to look at it. It was probably a lot of their squad's biggest night of their careers. So they'll be pumped about that. But I think that those games sometimes, when teams have that high, they have a little bit of a hangover, and I think that they'll just lapse slightly in concentration, and then from nowhere, United will punish them, and they'll grow into the game after that, and it will just be that's just part of United's DNA. It's in the fabric of their club. They've proved it since the club began, through no real skill or even luck. It's not even really luck. It's just who Man United are. They always have been. They always find a way. And it just kind of feels like it's going to be one of those games again for Ten Hag and his men.
I understand that, Frank, but the same narrative you could associate with the Spurs game, where they were just so dreadful. You kind of feel, well, if you were going to be Manchester United, have one of those moments, maybe it would more likely come at Old Trafford against Spurs than it would be against Aston Villa at Villa Park.
Yeah, and exactly. That was the evidence for me that they're not there, and they are not near the level that we would love to see them being. So unless you're a big fan of Manchester United, which I don't doubt from Mark Ogden, but I'm very surprised from Kieran Gibbs, I would see a result from Manchester United against the villains who just beat Bayern Munich as a miracle, because it's impossible. According to what we saw, it's impossible for Manchester United to have a result. So if they do so, well done. But really, to predict a win away from home from a team who just lost against Spurs. We've been saved by Harry Maguire at the last second of the game. I don't see the point. I don't see where we can see something positive coming out of Manchester United and see a positive result coming out from there, because there is no signs whatsoever. Yeah, we can believe that Ten Hag can do something special one day, but as you say, Dan, he should have done it against Spurs. He didn't do it. He barely did it 2 days ago or yesterday. And I don't see why against the villains, who are exceptional right now, they can have a result. I cannot predict anything good for Manchester United.
Here's my concern, and I get the point about Aston Villa and the little bit of a hangover after Bayern Munich. As I said yesterday, you saw the same with Newcastle last season when they beat PSG and then drew with West Ham the following weekend. That's from the Villa perspective. Here's my issue with Manchester United. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse from them, and great on Harry Maguire with that last-minute equaliser down to 10 men, and how you want to sprint that into some kind of a positive, Erik Ten Hag goes and does his post-game press conference and says that Marcus Rashford, who'd been had his best 45 minutes for 2 years, was taken off for squad rotation, which is just the worst excuse I have heard.